Mad Max Fury Road was George Miller's thunderous return to the franchise in 2015, a film that continues to age with grace and is rightfully heralded as one of the greatest action films of the decade, and honestly all time. Not long after, Miller would announce his desire to return to the world through the central character of Fury Road, Furiosa, excellently played by Charlize Theron, as she plays this rugged, heartfelt, and emotional centerpiece to the film. So when the trailer hit late last year, there was a lot of tepid feelings, a lot of nervous buzz. Could Anya Joy really fill Theron's shoes? Could Miller match the blistering heights of Fury Road? Well, I think in some ways, yes and no. Furiosa has a much different structure than Fury Road. Properly given the subtitle of a Mad Max saga, Furiosa feels in line with epic poetry. Think Odysseus or Gilgamesh, just with souped up big rigs and chrome. A character who goes through the trials of a brutal wasteland in order to reach home. But Miller is much more brutal with his environments and his effect on his heroine. We watch as for decades our character is shaped and molded by this waterless landscape and its grotesque warlords, including newcomer Dementis, played by Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth. Easily one of the most unique figures to enter the wasteland, as Hemsworth plays a perfect pitch with this Greek tragedy as a sadist Roman emperor wannabe, fit with a hilarious yet perfect bike chariot and a history man to work as his oracle. Dementis works perfect in contrast to Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa, both in a desperate race to fill the void of those lost and the trauma it has left behind. Broken into chapter headings to match the epic-sized narrative, Furiosa's story begins in bliss as she reaches for a fruit hanging from a tree. The Eden-like image thrusts us into a kidnapping and loss of innocence for Furiosa, fueled by vengeance to avenge her mother and hope to one day return. This gives every action set piece the weight of our hero, compounding the intensity of what is already a George Miller action set piece. There truly is no one doing it like Miller. Even the shots of shoddy CGI add texture to the strange and decaying wasteland. Miller and Simon Duggan's camera is always efficient and comprehensible even in its blistering pace. While I do yearn for many of the fully practical elements of Fury Road at points, they are able to reach those heights in moments. In particular, an action sequence in the center of this film involving a tanker and a sniper. The sequence features Jack, played by Tom Burke, who helps work as a teacher and a guide to Furiosa. Ending in war and horrifying action, Furiosa climbs out of the pit of hell once again to meet the face of what or who represents her trauma and destruction, Dementis. But after the high of the action, our hero is left with the question of what to do with trauma. Dementis uses sadism and acts of torture to achieve his fill of vengeance that ultimately leads to his demise, showing the unfulfillment of vengeance. So what's beyond vengeance? Miller's answer is clear at the end of this film. It's a question he answered 9 years ago in Fury Road: redemption. While the footage of Fury Road playing at the end of the film just left me yearning to watch Fury Road again instead of enjoying what I had just seen, it's a perfect narrative wrap-up to the question at the center of Furiosa. When vengeance is empty and hope is lost, what do we do with our trauma? And like Fury Road says, it's through redemption. It's the rebuilding of a world and trying to make it better for the next generation or the people around you. Redemption through sacrifice. And I think it's a beautiful and heartfelt ending to a film that is quite dark and full of treacherous imagery and horrible human beings. Even if this doesn't maybe touch the heights of Fury Road, I still think that it's an excellent action film. I think that there is a real well done narrative at the center of this film, even if it's something we've maybe seen before in other action films. It's hard to deny just how exciting Miller's action set pieces are, attached to some of the best working actors today, and you get a really great movie like Furiosa. If I was going to give this a rating, I would give this like a really solid 4, maybe even 4.5 I'm really excited to give this one a rewatch because it is 2.5 hours long, so it's a pretty dense one. And for some films that I would recommend to watch alongside Furiosa, I would obviously recommend Fury Road. Yeah, it truly is a perfect movie. I don't like to throw that term around too much. This movie is just visceral. It does not let up throughout the entirety of the film, and it's a really, really awesome answer to nihilism, in my opinion, and how you can turn the things that have happened to you, or even you being a part of an evil system, and how you can turn that back on the system itself. And my second one is actually The Northman. While it does share an actor, Anya Taylor-Joy, but this is another film that tackles the inescapability of destiny or vengeance. I think Robert Eggers' answer is, and questions are a bit more spiritual, maybe even a bit more dark. I do think that this is a really awesome film to look at in contrast, because this is also a story about a character who goes through something very traumatic early on in their life and is fueled by the vengeance to achieve something, and then reaches the end and achieves it, and you're asking yourself, what have they really done in the end of all of it? And it's a phenomenal film. Robert Eggers is one of my favorite filmmakers working today. I'm very excited to see what he does with Nosferatu later this year. So yeah, it's been a really great year for the big action movies in the multiplexes. Really thankful to all of y'all that have stuck around on the channel. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.